Well, hello everybody. This is Mike from Music City, and welcome back to Ranking Records. It's been a while since we've done one of these, and today we are gonna go through the musical catalog of the late great Warren Zevon. Gosh, if there is any rock star who is no longer with us that I miss more than anyone else, it's Warren Zevon. I was a huge fan. I still am a huge fan, and gosh, it's hard to believe that it's been 17 years since Warren has passed away. He leaves with him a great legacy, 12 great studio albums that we're going to go through today. It's almost like ranking is kind of ridiculous in this process. I really like all of these albums, and it's kind of like really a question of more favorites and less favorites. Warren was such a great quality singer-songwriter that there's just so many memorable songs, and I kind of, when I look back at this and I try to rank them, it sort of falls down to my most memorable songs that make me like a record. And there's a couple of reasons to have some near the bottom and some near the top, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. One thing, and I'm really gonna, make a real strong case. It's just a sin that Warren Zevon is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He sure deserves to be, and I really hope that it does happen for him someday. But again, we got 12 studio albums that we're going to go through, and I'm going to put them in an order of my likability of these records. A couple of little other oddities that we'll talk about as well. But number 12, it's Warren's actually first record. It's called Wanted, Dead or Alive, and this was kind of one of those records, that gets released and is totally forgotten, never heard of until the artist, becomes a little more popular and they go back and reissue it, and that's exactly what happened with this. Strangely enough, this record was produced by the late Kim Fowley, who was a really eccentric Los Angeles kind of record producer, impresario. He managed and produced the Runaways and just did a lot of odd stuff. And there's good songs on here, but it just doesn't sound very Zevon-like. When Warren progressed with the albums that followed this, he really kind of got himself into that LA music scene and really had a very sophisticated full band, sort of not slick is sometimes be a negative word, but a very very lush musical sound that you really don't hear on this record as much. But some good songs, some good original songs on here. Definitely worth checking out if you like if you like Zevon. Number 11 was one of his later records, and this is called This Rides Here. Not a very bad record, and I think what kind of possibly maybe makes me not feel as attached to this record is this was a project where he co-wrote songs with a lot of famous authors. He wrote with Mitch Albom, Hunter Thompson, Paul Muldoon, Carl Hyacin. So it's just, again, like that first record, it's just not as Zevon to me as these other records. But again, not a bad record. It does have his novelty song about hockey on it. I think it's called Hit Somebody, which, got sort of had a life of its own in the sports world. But that's where we are, number 11. Number 10, and you look at the cover of this album, and you kind of see why maybe it's near the bottom. It's a little startling. It's the Transverse City record. And, when I went back and listened to it, I wasn't as shocked as I recollected it to be, that it was technical, electronic kind of things. There's a little bit of that on there, but it actually is not that bad a record. The song Splendid Isolation is a great song. Again, down there at number 10, not a bad record. And now, we're getting to the point where it's just kind of really hard. All these records are just so close together. So, again, let's just look at this as a chance to talk about Warren Zevon a little bit and look at some of these records. But in the 9th spot, we're going to put a record called Mutineer, one of his later career records. Again, I look at this and just not a lot of songs that I'm you know, that are highly memorable to me. Mutineer, the title track, is an interesting one. It's just a song that I've never really fell that in love with, and the reason I say that is because Bob Dylan has covered Mutineer. Here in Nashville, Jason Isbell has covered Mutineer. And, you know, one of the things to talk about on Warren Zevon is, we'll probably mention it a few times, is he did his, he was pretty big part of the David Letterman show for a number of years. He was Letterman's favorite musician, and you know, Warren has always said that, you know, the best thing that ever happened to his career was David Letterman. I think he was on the show about 10 times. He used to fill in for Paul Schaefer occasionally as band leader. And when Warren had found out he had cancer, he did a great, the last show, he did a full show of Letterman that you can find on YouTube. It's just amazing. You really need to watch it, and it's just a very, very touching evening. And he did 3 songs, one of them which was Mutineer. So just, you know, it's just a song to me that just, not that I dislike it, but it's just not one that I tend to rate as high in the catalog as a lot of others do. Next, you know, and here we get into these strange coincidences where this is his penultimate album, I believe, and it's called Life'll Kill Ya. So we're kind of getting into, you know, Warren has always had a little bit of morbid sense about his songwriting, but here we are just, you know, he eventually died not too long after this, but tidying an album like that is pretty pretty odd. But some really good songs on here. I Was in the House When the House Burned Down. Porcelain Monkey, one of 2 songs that he's written about Elvis Presley. And you know, one of the interesting things on here is he does a cover of Stevie Winwood's Back in the High Life Again that is just great. Just really, really great. He makes the song his own, and you know, while we all love Stevie Winwood for his Traffic Days, I think a lot of us don't really maybe find his career a little bit too middle of the road for our liking, but Warren really does this song great justice. And then again, one of his really great songs, and again along this lines of, did he know he was going to die at this time? And he didn't, but did he have a foreshadowing of it? Don't Let Us Get Sick, which is a really tender, pretty song. Okay, continuing on, and again, we're really getting tight here. Mr. Bad Example, another album with some great songs on here. The title song is a great one, and also, oh gosh, a beautiful love song, Searching for a Heart. Warren really knew how to get tender with love songs. And the aptly titled, strangely titled, Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead, another Dead song. And actually somebody borrowed that title for a movie, and I think Warren eventually got some acknowledgement for that fact. So, Mr. Bad Example. Now getting back to one of the earlier records, the next one up is called The Envoy. Love the title track, just a very, very Zevon-esque song. You know, this was kind of a, you know, really good LA sounding record. What else we got? Warren getting a little robust and rowdy with Ain't That Pretty at All. You know, what else do we got? The Overdraft, another good song. Sort of very, very good record, The Envoy. Now, we got 5 to go here. So the top 5. This was actually Warren's 4th record, Bad Luck Streak and Dancing School. And this was a really hard one to find on CD. I had the vinyl, and I wanted to get the CD to do all this, and I had to pay a few bucks for this. So this was kind of out of print on CD. Title track is great. One of the cool things on this record is he recovered a long-lost Bruce Springsteen song called Jeannie Needs a Shooter, which is really a neat song, and one of these Springsteen songs we would have never heard. He had a minor hit with A Certain Girl, which was what's that, Ernie K. Doe song from New Orleans. And one of the things I love about Warren Zevon, and I wish he did a lot more of it, is write songs about famous sports characters. And he's got a song on here called Bill Lee, which was a crazy baseball pitcher who had a lot of very strange things happen in his career. And the Bill Lee is a great song. Okay, so we're down to 4 to go. And number 4, Sentimental Hygiene. Gosh, a great record. And Warren's backing band for this record was none other than REM. And Michael Stipe even makes a couple of, an appearance or two singing vocals on this. Some great stuff on here. The title track, Sentimental Hygiene, great song. And another one about sports, Boom Boom Mancini, a boxer who had the misfortune of actually killing an opponent in the ring. So one of his better songs, Detox Mansion, kind of a clever song. And you know, we know it's no secret Warren had really bad struggles with alcohol abuse, and you know, I think this was about the time when he was sort of getting out of that, and all glory to him, he made an excellent recovery. The one time I did happen to meet Warren Zevon, strangely enough, was at a Bruce Springsteen show in New York in 1978, and was really excited to talk to him, and unfortunately he wasn't in any condition to talk to me, and he needed to just go sit down and be by himself. So that was a sad moment, but then again, the story had a happy ending in terms of him getting himself clean. Top 3 now. Warren's final record, The Wind, recorded after he was diagnosed with cancer, and knew he had one more album left in him, and just a really great record. A lot of contributions from a lot of his good friends. There's a cover of Knocking on Heaven's Door, again, you know, sort of looking ahead to what we knew he was about to face, and probably one of the most tender songs ever written about, you know, loss and knowing you're not going to be around. Keep Me in Your Heart. I mean, it's a hard song to hear without bringing a tear to my eye, and thinking about Warren especially. But a great record, and I know that about the time this came out, they did a great VH1 special about the making of this record, and that you really need to watch. I believe you can find it on YouTube. Now we get to the top 2, and we're going to go with his third album, really the second Asylum album, the second one that he did with Jackson Browne, and that's his most famous album, Excitable Boy. This is the one that had the big hit on there, Werewolves of London, and it's a shame that there are a lot of people who only know Warren for Werewolves of London. And yes, it is a quirky, silly song, great nonetheless, but it's not very typical of what he was all about. Now, I was in London 2 years ago, and you know the line in that song, I went looking for the place called Lee Ho Fook's. I was going to get a big bowl of beef chow mein. I wanted to find Lee Ho Fook's and get a bowl of beef chow mein, and I found where it used to be. It's not there anymore. It's not a restaurant, so I was really sad to hear that happen. That would have been a great story to tell. But again, my favorite Warren Zevon song is on this record, and Warren had a great knack of making kind of silly expressions and putting words together that just seem so out of context, but there's a beauty to it, and that was this great song called Tenderness on the Block. Okay, how do you write a song? What do you come up with that line, Tenderness on the Block? I don't know. It also has got Roland the Headless Thompson Gunner on there, just a really macabre, fantastic song. And again, one of the things about Warren is, and there's probably a few other examples I'm overlooking right now, but he's an artist who really has put expressions into the English vernacular, and one of those is Lawyers, Guns, and Money, which is a great song on this record. Oh, wow, this is just so good. And then, of course, Excitable Boy, the title track, is fantastic. Johnny Strikes Up the Band, just a really, really good record. And number 1, the first Asylum record, the one that Jackson Browne produced and really got Warren Zevon on the map, it's simply called Warren Zevon. And this is the one that Linda Ronstadt attacked and pulled away a few songs and made them very popular. Hasten Down the Wind, Poor, Poor, Pitiful Me. For me, I just love Mohammed's Radio. That was the first Warren Zevon song that I ever fell in love with. Carmelita, oh gosh, and Linda sang that too, about being all strung out on heroin on the dark side of town. Frank and Jesse James, again, another one about famous people that was just fantastic. And this is the bonus edition. You know, came with an extra CD's worth of extra material, so I'd recommend trying to get this one. But just the ultimate favorite Zevon album for me. Now, just a couple of little things in passing. Oh, I meant to do this when we talked about Sentimental Hygiene before. We mentioned that he worked with REM on it. He also did a side project with the guys from REM called the Hindu Love Gods. And you got to get this. It's such a great record. They do some blues rock covers on here. And I tell you, it is at least once a month that I've got to go to Spotify in the office and hear their fantastic cover of Prince's Raspberry Beret. It is fantastic. So Hindu Love Gods, need to pick that one up. Now, there were also two live Zevon records. You know, we try not to rank the live records. We put those separately. But he did a live album called Stand in the Fire. This came out about the time of right after Excitable Boy. No, right after Bad Luck Streak and Dancing School, excuse me. And this was back in the day when Zevon played with the full band. I did see him once at the Bottom Line in New York when he had that full band. Oh, man, and it was all the top L.A. guys in there. You know, his longtime partner, Waddy Wachtel, was in the band. And, I can't remember the rest of the band. But it was a slick, fantastic band. And that's kind of what you've got in this show. But you see, he did start to stand up a little bit a couple of years later. I always say that I think he was affected by seeing Bruce Springsteen live. And he did this later on in his career. He really became more of a, well, most of his shows back then were solo acoustic, where you saw a different looking Warren Zevon with his long hair and a ponytail and maybe a t-shirt and playing acoustic guitar with a harmonica around his neck, and he'd play some piano. This live record, Learning to Flinch, is more of that live Warren Zevon, and it's great stuff. I'll take my Warren either way. If you want to become a Zevon completist, and by all means you should be, Warren Zevon Preludes came out. It's a lot of rare unreleased stuff, a little box set here. The second disc has a good interview here with our old friend Jody Denberg in Austin. So some really good stuff on here worth checking out. And the last thing I want to mention music-wise, you know, we mentioned about how Zevon and Lawyers, Guns, and Money, you know, becoming part of, you know, our vernacular. Another thing he did when he was on the Letterman show doing that famous last, you know, appearance before he passed away, you know, Dave asked him, he said, hey, you know, anything you can tell us about life now that, you know, what you're facing? And he said, enjoy every sandwich, which has been a well-repeated phrase and actually became the title of this Warren Zevon tribute record, Enjoy Every Sandwich. And this is worth getting, you know, Don Henley, Steve Earle, Jackson Browne, Bruce Springsteen, Bob Dylan's Mutineers on here. Jill Sobule does a great job of Don't Let Us Get Sick. I definitely would recommend this too. And then last, you know, we do like talking about books. I love reading rock biographies, and this is the one to read right here. And it's a tough read, you know, really going through the hard life that Warren did have, you know, with substance abuse. And this was written by his ex-wife, Crystal, and it's called I'll Sleep When I'm Dead. It's a tough read, but it's a page-turner. You will really, really enjoy this if you're there following the career of Warren Zevon. Again, one of my favorite all-time singer-songwriters. I miss him. Cannot believe it's been 17 years. Please, if anyone with any way to help us listen, let's get him in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame where he belongs. Again, thank you for spending this 20 minutes with us. Do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss what we're doing here, and appreciate the comments. As I mentioned, this was not so much a ranking as a walkthrough catalog of an artist I love. Let me know your comments and your thoughts, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.